Hi, my name is Jenna Curia, and I'm a junior at Meredith College. I conducted a qualitative analysis of attachment and resilience among the adult children of multi substance dependent mothers. So, first, we're going to look at the background relating to my study. The present study examined disrupted attachment patterns among adult children whose biological mothers struggled with opioid addiction, substance abuse, and mental health challenges present during the prenatal period and sustained throughout their lives. So, next, we're going to talk about attachment theory. Attachment can be defined as a deep emotional bond between two people who seek closeness and then feel more secure when together. And similarly, there's a growing body of research aimed at understanding the transitions in attachment relationships that occur during emerging adulthood. Next, we're going to look at some mediating factors of emotional bonding. So, infants require a bond with a reliable individual, which is typically a parent. These bonds are formed during infancy, and they're a key indication of how the adult child will emotionally and relationally respond to challenges later in life. And lastly, the quality and the longevity of this bond is important in predicting future resilience and also success. Next, we're going to look at some biological influencers. Oxytocin is a hormone that acts as a chemical messenger in the brain, and oxytocin is important in the formation of mother infant bonding, trust, and recognition. Now, maternal substance abuse and consequently neonatal abstinence syndrome can cause a decrease in oxytocin levels during the prenatal and infant stages. And we know that decreased oxytocin levels may lead to impaired mother infant bonds. So, next, we're going to look at methodology. This study recruited 26 adults, ages 19 to 35, whose mothers struggled with opioid addiction, substance abuse, and mental health challenges present during the prenatal period and sustained throughout their children's lives. And participants that were used for this study were located throughout the United States, England, and Greece. So, for this study, a series of qualitative writing prompts participants' sense of connection to their biological mothers and how it impacted developmental transitions. So, this is a table containing the questions used for this study, um, including tell me about the closest relationships in your life at present. How do these relationships make you feel about yourself? Describe your home life as a child, adolescent, and adult. Tell me about your relationship with your biological mother. How does this relationship make you feel about yourself? Explain the strategies you use to cope with stress and difficult times. Discuss your relationships with siblings or close peers while growing up. Discuss your relationships with other family members or influential adults in your life while growing up. And read the following quote: the relationship with our mother is the most meaningful experience. How does this make you feel? Do you agree or disagree, and why? Next, a thematic analysis was conducted, which consisted of written narratives were coded for themes, and annotations were used to identify themes during initial and subsequent readings of the data. Next, relevant quotes were sorted into groups based on themes found, and then participant checking was conducted. Next, we're going to discuss the results of this study. So, theme one was a decreased connection between mothers and their biological children. As hypothesized, participants who lacked a stable bond with a reliable adult at birth, typically a parent, reported a decreased sense of connection to their biological mothers. One participant said, I took care of her, and she never really took care of me. We don't talk anymore. The second theme found was high levels of success among participants. Participants attributed higher levels of perceived responsibility and anxiety during childhood and adolescence to their academic and professional success in adulthood. One participant said, although I'm academically and professionally successful, I feel anxious and lonely nearly every day. Another said, if I have an academic or professional goal to work towards, I forget about the rest and I feel mentally organized, mentally energized, like I'm worth something. Those are the best times. The third theme found is self blame. When discussing his relationship with his biological mother, one participant noted, it's complicated, and it makes me feel like I'm worthless and responsible for everything bad in her world and mine. Higher levels of perceived responsibility and anxiety also contributed to feelings of self blame for the actions of parental figures. The fourth theme found throughout the course of this study was fear of abandonment. Participants reported fear of abandonment in adult relationships due to unstable attachments during childhood and adolescence. One quote from the study reads, my mom was in and out a lot. I didn't see her much when I was little, although I wish I had. In middle school, she rented an apartment that we lived in, and I could tell she was trying to get better. In high school, my relationship with my biological mother was almost non existent. Another participant added, I'm reluctant to form relationships because it feels like everyone is always going to leave. The fifth theme found throughout the course of this study is a secure base. So, participants reported relationships with influential adults outside of the home during childhood and adolescence that became a secure base, although those relationships weren't necessarily formed during infancy. One participant said, my best friend's family saved me. They gave me a safe, certain place to be where I was wanted and loved just for existing. They were who I went to when I was sick, when I was lonely, when I was happy. I never felt like a charity case or a project. It was just me at my other home with my friend and his parents that felt like mine too. They still give me a warm internal sense of peace and security every time I think of them. Another participant added, I believe the ones who love us like a mother, unconditionally, persistently, freely, those are the relationships that matter the most. And sadly, but also wonderfully, those relationships don't always take place between a mother and her biological child. Just because you give birth does not make you a mother. So, in conclusion, consistent with Ainsworth's findings, attachment can be defined as a deep emotional bond between two people who seek closeness and feel more secure when together. This is especially important for developing infants, as we already saw in the literature review. But similarly, the quality and longevity of bonds formed during infancy and sustained throughout childhood help predict resilience in the future. So the present study found that that adult children with disrupted attachment patterns had a weak sense of connection to their biological mothers, which could be attributed in part to low oxytocin levels at birth. Participants also reported high levels of professional success, which indicate resilience in times of change and adversity, as hypothesized. And finally, participants also reported meaningful connections with other adults outside of their family unit, which, although those bonds weren't formed at infancy, still seem to impact resilience in future endeavors. Considerations. This data is not a representation of disrupted attachment patterns in all relationships between multi substance dependent mothers and their children. Rather, it highlights the experiences of 26 participants. Next, analyses were conducted by one researcher, and strategies are being put in place to validate analyses while maintaining the confidentiality of the sample. Further analyses. Ongoing analyses are focused on further understanding of this data. Among the questions I'm exploring are mediating factors such as the presence of biological fathers that potentially help alleviate tension between mother child relations in situations where substance use is present. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my presentation today. I know that these are crazy times in our world, and it means a lot that you would log onto your computer and spend a few minutes learning about my study. The progression of this study would not have been possible without the time and expertise of Dr. Edwards, my research advisor. I'd also like to thank my lab for supporting me as a researcher, a student, and a person. I've included my contact information below. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions you may have. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you have a great day.